Welcome to our April edition of Birds of Essex.
Hello.
In the UK.
Good evening. How you doing, guys?
We're doing good. I'm doing good. Yeah, been pretty busy. Not so much birding recently, but I know you've been out and about, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, you can see I've been the Costa del Clacton today.
I got a bit of sun yesterday. I was at Abberton and Ardley and all sorts of places. So yeah, been good fun.
That wind was enough to turn my ears red yesterday because I went out birding by bike, but might talk about that later.
Oh, wow.
We've got a great program tonight. Got a lot of feedback regarding bird photography, which is our key topic. But on the subject of bird photography, if I can just get something up and share my screen here. I saw on Facebook John Turner from Braintree, or certainly he was in Braintree, Willow Park, I think it was, asked about a bird he saw, a big black bird, that he wondered whether it was a raven. And I know we did that COVID piece, Matt, didn't we, a little while ago?
It didn't do me much good because I confused a couple of rooks with ravens the other week, but that's a different story, so we're not going to go there.
Well, what do you think of this one? And for those that are watching, I want you to look carefully at this. What have we got here? Raven, crow, or rook?
It looks like a big cat, to be honest.
What do you think, Steve?
Do you know, I wouldn't like to put money on that. It's a raggedy old thing, isn't it? Carl?
Yeah.
It's a bit of a lump, but, you know, often in the field, this is the kind of sight that we'll actually get. And John had that kind of a bird circling up, nothing really to reference with it. And I was saying how it's probably going to be one of those that goes in the bin that we think was it not?
Yeah.
But as I sequence through, number 2, for those of you that are watching, maybe you can have a look, see what you think. Is it raven, crow, or is it changing?
Short oh, okay.
Quite long wings.
Quite long wings, fingerlings on there.
Yeah.
Heavy-throated.
Sorry about the blur, because this actually came through and I'm playing the pictures in reverse.
Hang on.
And
look over that left wing. Look at the size of that beak.
Look at the size of the beak, yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That kind of arc in the wing, that bent wing is very raven, isn't it?
I'm going jackdaw.
And to finish it off, there it is flying over the seawall at East Tilbury, which is becoming a regular sight. But I know many people are actually reporting raven around the county, and they are a difficult bird to pick. I really only got that, and that was the day after I'd been dialoguing with John Turner, which is why I put it in, because I said, you know, hopefully one will cronk for you something. I was straight onto this because when it arrived, it was chased by 2 crows, so I instantly had the reference in size. So I grabbed the camera and thought I'd insert that for John tonight, and hopefully, if he's not already seen one, he'll be seeing ravens around.
Yeah, very ready.
Good. But yeah, what else? Rookery survey. Well, we're on the subject of Corvids. It's been brilliant. I think we're round about the 300 mark now. Howard will probably come in later and tell me we're actually over 300, Steve. That's how it usually works. But yeah, great work there, guys, on the survey. And I know some of you have really clocked up miles and, you know, over 20 reports from different.
Yeah, really good.
And worth another look, I recounted my local Linford Wood smaller rookery, and there were 62 nests there. I think I'd only reported about 30 a couple of months ago. So, yeah, worth another look.
Yeah.
Turtle doves, Steve, you were going to mention something on that one.
Yeah, so I'm not sure everyone's aware, but there's a national turtle dove survey taking place this year. Let me just share the screen. Yeah, run by the RS. It's a bit of a title page there. So, yeah, they really want people to go out and count a square. There's lots of squares available in Essex. And just record whether turtle doves are there. So here's a map of the county, and the yellow squares are already taken for counting turtle doves or looking for turtle doves, but the blue squares are all available. So there's plenty of opportunity for people to take part in this very worthwhile survey. turtle doves, you know, are declining quite rapidly, and you know, well worth taking part. And this is a quick link. This is off our EBS website, but if you Google RSPB turtle dove survey, it will take you to this page. It tells you everything you need to know about taking part in the survey. So please get involved if you can.
That's great.
Yep.
There's another survey that is happening regarding barnacle geese, and particularly domesticated or escaped. And Mick Tracy will be coming in at some point and giving us, our county recorder, an update and details of that. But is it you, Matt's going to tell people how to get in touch and feedback and share tonight?
So I think tonight, probably the easiest thing, I was going to give out a mobile number, but this mobile seems to just died, so I can't get it to turn on. So I won't be doing that. But if you can log into YouTube with your Google account, if you've got one, then you should be able to ask a question or make a comment if you wish by using the chat function on YouTube. So nice and simple, log in via Google and then just hit chat wherever that may be on your device or computer. And we can also take questions via Facebook. I think Steve's got the details of Facebook.
So yeah, so if you visit the Essex Birdwatching Society Facebook page, and then you can send us a direct message from the page there, and we'll be monitoring that this evening. So yeah, send your questions or queries in to us. That'd be great. And just while we're on, we've been doing these for now, what, 6 months maybe? And the last few weeks been bumping into lots of people that have been thoroughly enjoying the work we've been doing. So so thanks to, I've got a few names here. So Matthew Davison, Les Malloy, Brian Churches, Glyn Evans. Who else have we got? Martin Gather-Cull, Steve Entwistle, John and Adam Norgate, and Sandra Bell, who have both said that they all said they're really enjoying what we're doing. So thanks for everyone that are watching. And
it's great.
And
brilliant. I can add to that Nick Lay and also Jamie Thornton, who give us feedback as well. And yeah, it's been a joy really to see how it's gone. We kind of started out just as a trial really for the Big County Bird Watch, and we're enjoying it, and I'm pleased everybody else is as well. So that's great. And also in a couple of weeks there'll be another. Is there a talk coming up? There is, isn't there?
Yeah, actually, while we're there, just in case, I'm supposed to be sharing that, aren't I? It's not. Oh, too much going on here tonight.
That's all right, Steve. I'm jumping it forward.
I think it's the 7th. I think.
Don't worry, we'll come to it later if you want.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Oh, go on, Matt.
I was going to say, last episode or last month's broadcast. Oh, there you go. Well done, Steve.
There you go. Oh, sorry. That's a map of Old Hall. You don't want to see that. Well, you want to go to Old Hall, obviously.
Is that buried treasure there somewhere?
Oh no, it's all those different. Old Hall's got all these field numbers.
Take 2.
Yeah, I'll show it at the end. Don't worry.
All right. Right. So
I think he's got some loot buried there somewhere. It's the kind of Essex Marshes thing, you know.
Yeah. I'm going to get that back up again on the replay.
Some dodgy things happen out on the marshes at Old Hall.
So last month, about half an hour before we went live, I received a message on my phone actually with a video attached from Dave Dutton out at Alresford, and I just didn't see it. So huge apologies. So I've promised him that we're going to show the video now. So if I can get this working, here we go. So basically, this was taken very local to where he is, and hopefully you can all see that.
Yep.
So if I hit play, this is an absolute gigantic flock of starling.
Wow.
Now, I mean, goodness knows how many are in there. It is thousands. It's probably tens of thousands, I would have thought.
Yeah.
It's obviously night vision.
Night vision,
footage.
night camera. I mean, look at this. You know, he's done so well to get this footage, and it's
wow.
You know, considering it's pitch black virtually. How good does that look?
And where was this, Matt?
So this is between. It's kind of near Alresford, so it's between Alresford and Wivenhoe, which is just outside of Colchester, just to the east of Colchester. So yeah, really good out. I think they're gone now. He said he went back a few nights later, That's what we've got. I've edited it down. He did send me more footage, but I thought because we've got a lot of content tonight, I'd just keep it a little shorter. But it looks absolutely amazing. So thanks very much for that, David.
Yeah, thanks, David.
He said he went back a couple of nights later and they'd almost all gone. There was like about 50 left or something. Yeah.
It's quite amazing. It's quite amazing that the fact that I didn't realise they did all that swirling when it was dark, real pitch black dark.
Yeah.
You think they do that before it gets dark. But, yeah, amazing.
I mean, I reckon that's a massive sort of collection waiting to then move on. You know, so they've all gone to the same place, and they probably all left en masse, haven't they? So,
wow, that's amazing.
Incredible.
Didn't Paul Brayshaw, as I recall, going back a little bit, a few weeks now, and everything's changed, and spring and migrants are belting in, and these are winter birds leaving. Ashes are actually migrating, aren't they? Even though we have our own starlings, a lot coming from Europe. And I remember Paul Larkin put in a report of significant numbers of starlings being seen flying out from Brinton. Yeah,
definitely.
Brilliant. So, new migrants coming in, and everything's racking up round here. I'm ticking them off almost kind of every time I go out. There's a reed warbler and white throat, lesser white throat 2 days ago, and cuckoo. Had a couple of sightings of cuckoo, may have been the same bird, and a couple of very quiet calls. But yeah, anything else that's been a highlight for you, Steve? Matt?
Yeah, Matt and I went out yesterday and we saw our first swifts yesterday.
Brilliant.
Nice. And obviously there were cuckoos flying around. But it still feels like winter. That wind's still cold.
I was going to say, it feels like spring if you stand out the wind, but once you step into it.
Yeah, definitely. It's the kind of thing, you look out the window and you want to go out in a t-shirt, and then you get outside and you want to put a jumper on. So, very strange at the moment. I
nearly took my summer coat out the other day when I was out. When would it be? Yesterday or Wednesday? Anyway. And the forecast was really kind of quite grey and grizzly, but it was a beautiful morning. Went out, and then the grey came in and the wind picked up and it was freezing. But regarding other kind of reports, I saw a report from somebody that got West Chelmsford ringneck parakeet in the garden. Is it Pete
Allen?
Yep.
And I had a little titter thinking they're all these bird feeders and they've got beaks like can openers. And then the following day I myself had one turn up, and it got me thinking. And so we're going to have a new feature tonight. You seen that, guys, on the clock?
On the clock.
Yeah, okay.
And they divide opinion, these ringneck parakeets. And those of you that have yet to really experiencing them tend to kind of be a little bit softer on them. But some of us that have had them around, this is 2014, when I had first one arrived in my garden, and not really taken to my feeders. But I put a poll out on Twitter, and as of this afternoon, over 50% wanted rid of them. The 3 options were, live and let nature take its course, survey and monitor them with regard to action in the future if required, or actually get rid now. And I must say, and I'm going to start the clock for 5 minutes discussion on this, and if anybody wants to kind of share their views on the chat and everything like that, please do. If you have them around, or if you don't, whereabouts they are. I'd be interested to see how far they're kind of spreading through the county. Certainly they're up into Epping Forest and they're edge of Southend. They're certainly in Thurrock in scores. But I think they're potentially a problem. What about you guys?
Well, I'm a bit torn, to be fair. I sort of quite like them, but then we haven't got them here in Colchester. Maybe if we had them in the garden here, maybe I'd think differently. But I don't know. I'm a bit torn with the whole.
See, when you consider the size of them, they're much bigger than our woodland birds. Like because the native of woodland here, they're in that Linford Wood where the jackdaws and the rookery is, and they definitely kind of go head to head with jackdaws.
Yeah.
Great spotted woodpeckers have got no chance against them, and they're incredibly agile. And what I notice is they tend to hog a particular place. There's a particular area that was great spotted woodpecker territory for nesting, and they're in there now. The great spots seem to have moved elsewhere, but I think there's a conflict there.
I mean, I was going to say, from my point of view, I think that they, first of all, they kind of look a bit out of place when you see one, because they just look a bit exotic and as if they shouldn't be here, which obviously they shouldn't really. However, when I see one, I'm still quite excited that I've seen one. But I think the question really should be that if nothing is done about them, what effect will they have on the indigenous population of this country? Are they going to cause birds, like you said, such as great spots and lesser spots and other sort of wood dwelling birds? Are they going to cause them problems? And are they going to cause the populations of those birds to deteriorate? Because if that happens, then maybe something needs to be done. Although personally, at the moment, I would just let nature take its course and see what happens until until there are signs it's going to become a problem. I quite like them.
Well, the way they're kind of spreading as well, they really, have found a niche, haven't they? And you have to look at the West London areas and the parks over there, Richmond Park and all the parks through there. And they seem to be as at home in the suburbs of the city as they are kind of, out further, in the green belt as they are here.
But Tim Hayward has said, my understanding is that they found an empty niche and they're not a threat to anything else.
That's a good point.
So, I mean, if that's the case, then live and let live, maybe.
Well, we'll see what the survey says later, I think, but we'll kind of call time on that one tonight. And,
hold on, we've got Nick Lay. Nick Lay has asked, wasn't the government talking about a cull of the ringneck parakeets in some of the London parks?
Okay.
I'm not aware of that, but I don't know.
No, I don't know. I know there has been some, background conversation about it. I don't know how far it has gone. I know, and I think there was some work the BTO were doing as well, or certainly some survey work in terms of trying to establish whether there was any pushing back of native species, because it's not like ruddy duck, is it, where they're kind of likely to breed with something similar because there's nothing else like them around. Might get a green and black jackdaw or something silly, but
that'd be interesting. Yeah, green winged jackdaw.
Yeah. But now let us have your feedback, your thoughts, and if you want to put the poll runs till about 9 o'clock, and then we'll have the results. It's on Linford Birder on my Twitter poll.
Yep.
Cool, but we'll move on from there. So where are we going now? Black-tailed godwit. I showed some pictures last week, and we were going to report back on them. Had some really interesting data back from some of them, but I've not had all the information back. I've got data on 3 of the birds, and so I think if it's okay, we're going to push that back to the next program, because I know the photography topic tonight. I need to stop sharing that. Thanks for the reminder, guys.
Sorry, I was looking at something else.
Let me talk to the parrot. But we ought to probably, unless there's anything else you guys want to kind of cover first, pretty much go straight to the photography, shouldn't we?
Okay, I mean, only just some more feedback on the parakeets, really. So
Go on then.
Neil Murphy said they've got as far out as Chelmsford, but not further northeast than that yet, apart from a few sporadic sightings. He goes on to say just the odd occasional bird in Braintree, which I think is where he may be located. And Tim Hayward back again. He said if you've seen the big flocks in cities in India, for example in Delhi, that's not something he'd want to see here. And that's a good point, because even if they don't have an effect on any of the native species, I guess, if they breed really successfully, then just as an aesthetic thing, would we want to see flocks of hundreds of these noisy little birds flying around our city centres? I don't know. One or two, I don't mind, but I don't know if I want flocks of hundreds. Not sure.
I do wonder what they're doing in terms of feeding, kind of in farmland type areas or orchards and areas of trees and stuff like that. Kind of whether there's going to be any, particularly if the numbers grow. Anyway,
photography. First up, before we start, if I can just say, we put a poll on Twitter about a week ago, and it finished just before we went live, I think. And it was just a question really asking people which format they use, if any, to take pictures of birds while you're out in the field. And the options were DSLR, a mirrorless camera, a bridge camera, or using your scope with either a digital camera or your phone. And the most people have got DSLR, which is was just under 40%. Second place was phone scoping or digiscoping with 23%, bridge camera with 21%, and mirrorless with 16%. Although, as we'll discuss later on, I think those figures will probably change over time, to be honest. But Steve, I see you put a picture on, so explain that, please.
Yeah, I thought kind of we'd start with this title, Bird Photography. And there's a little grey phalarope there that's, again, typical of my photography, blurred, but actually I was focusing on the people that I wanted to focus on. That was one of my early twitches down to near Brighton to see a grey phalarope. And as the kids and the people around were asking, kind of, what are all those guys lying down on the floor, you know, looking at that puddle in the, it was kind of a local park paddling pool area where this grey phalarope had shown up. And literally you can see how close he was, literally walking up to people, you know, almost going in some of those big lenses there. Yeah, I kind of sometimes step back and see the funny side of birding. And I was just saying, I think we've got Steve Grimwade over here who's, you know, well locked on there, you know, and then there's me over here with my bridge camera, trying to figure it out. Matt used to have a bridge camera and now he's kind of upgraded a bit and he's trying to tell me what he knows. Something like that. But you actually know these guys, don't you, Steve?
No, there's Rich Bonser on the right and Josh Jones second from right. But those children in the background look more excited than the guy in the middle. Yeah. Like, he looks really bored.
Yeah.
Yeah, so funny, isn't it?
Oh, it's brilliant photo. I like that.
Anybody wants to put a caption together tonight, send that in as a quote. That might be funny for that one, but yeah.
So what kit do you guys use then? Let's talk about what we use.
Well, for me personally, I mean, I started using I've had lots of cameras over the years, but started using a bridge camera, Canon, and then I've just sort of progressed through various DSLRs. And then now I've just got this this mighty, just got a a Canon 80D with a 100/400 lens.
Nice.
The lens is absolutely, it's like 11 years old. It's absolutely, yeah, it's a bit knackered, but it does a good job, and it suits me down to the ground. Yeah. Nice image and not too heavy, easily hand hold it, you know. So yeah, that's me. What about you guys?
What about you, Steve?
Should I go next? Well, I started with a bridge camera. In fact, this is the second bridge camera I had, which is a Panasonic Lumix FZ200. And I showed you this piece of kit last time when we were looking at optics. And this actually comes with, it's a 1.7 times device that magnifies it. You just screw onto it, which just takes it up. I think this is about 24 times on the zoom, but the latest ones, but that's an f2.8, so there's a lot of light going in there. But the latest ones, there's an FZ82, which I know, is it David and Wynn?
Yes, David and Wynn Simmons. Yeah, they purchased one. Yeah.
And yeah, I've had a try out of that, and that's got kind of like a 50-60 times zoom on it. Great little camera. But just a little pointer on there, kind of with regard to the FZ82, it's a fantastic camera. But a lot of cameras are actually made for you to look through your right eye with, because people tend to use that. And with an FZ82, I tried one out because I dropped this and needed to change it. And the FZ82 was one I looked at. And I'm actually blind in my right eye, so can I go with the left eye? I kept touching the back screen, which isn't one of these flip ones like this, with my nose, which was sending the focus out, because whatever you touch on the screen was focusing on. So it didn't work out for me. But so, you know, silly little things worth checking regarding that with a camera, you know, before you commit. But now my wife uses the the Lumix FZ82, but I'm still with Lumix because, again, I think once you start with a camera, you get used to the menus and where the buttons are. I think that's worth saying. And so, you know, have a good think and have a, you know, see what feels right and what, you know, kind of fits. And this is a Lumix, Panasonic Lumix G7, which is a micro 4/3 mirrorless camera. And I have a 100-300 lens on it. I'd like the 100-400, but that's over £1,000. And this one I paid about 350 quid for new, which they're about 450 usually. And that gives me about a 600mm reach with my with the micro 4/3, because as Matt will tell you later, there's a smaller crop sensor, but that's what I'm using, and love it. And I also use it for digiscoping, but next time we might talk a little bit about digiscoping and cover that then.
Well, I use, as Steve said, I had a bridge camera up until about a year ago, I think it was, just over. Had a Nikon bridge camera, and I changed it for a DSLR, more because I just wanted to kind of learn a little bit more about photography. And I've really enjoyed playing with the DSLR. So I use it's a Nikon D7500 body, and the main lens that I shoot birds with is the Tamron, and it's the 150-600 zoom, the G2, which has basically got a lock on it so that you can lock it in any position you want to and the lens doesn't move. And it's got image stabilization as well, which again is really important, especially when you've got a, you know, quite a big heavy lens. You want to have something that's going to help you to hold it steady when you're shooting handheld. And I just carry that around on a strap on my side. To start with, I thought it was going to be really heavy, but it's actually not. I use I think it's a black rapid strap, which basically goes over your shoulder. You do it up underneath your arm as well to give you a bit more stability. And then the other side sort of hooks around, and you attach the camera to this little carabiner hook at the bottom, and it's got a safety strap as well. So if it does fail, it's going to catch the camera. And you attach it to the lens, not the camera with a big lens, because the camera body shouldn't really be taking the weight of the whole lens all the time. So attach it to the foot of the lens tripod collar. And I've also got just for butterflies and dragonflies. I think, Steve, you've got one of these as well, haven't you?
I have, yeah. So apart from this camera, I've got another Canon body with my macro lens on, so I don't have to worry about swapping lenses over. But yeah, the Sigma, was it 105 mil, isn't it? 105,
yes, it's 105 mil fixed, like a prime lens, but it's a macro lens. And what macro lens means is it means you can basically go so close to a subject, if you wish to, that it gives you 1-for-1 reproduction, which basically means that if you've got say a ladybird, and you've got a sensor inside the camera that's about this big, the ladybird would literally be life size on the sensor. Yep. So when you put it on the screen, the ladybird is going to be massive. It's going to take up virtually all of the picture, and obviously the detail you can get is great. But because you're so close, it's the depth of field is very shallow, so you have to play with that. A bit more technical, but it's fun.
It might be good just to kind of give people an idea of cost, you know, in terms of the kit that we got. A bridge camera, you're starting around about 250 to 300. This slightly better FZ200 as it was. It's now old. There's better ones. You're talking kind of probably 300, 400, 500. With a lens type situation for the micro 4/3 and the body, you can pay anything up to £1,000 or more for a body. This one new was about 400-500. I think I bought it for about 250 used. And then the lens, as I said, 350, actually 450 now for that lens. And if you want, this is a 100-300 Panasonic lens. The 100-400, which gives you an 800 reach, with a lot of people that have micro 4/3 cameras use, is a Leica lens, and that is over £1,000. I think when they launched it a couple of years ago, at the last bird fair we had, they were doing it on special £1,000, and I've saved my pocket money up for last year's bird fair to go and buy one, and there was no bird fair, and no company would do it for £1,000 for me. So if anybody's changed their mind, let me know.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've got the Mark 1 100, 400, and I think the Mark II, which is a much better. See, mine's like a push-pull zoom, where the new one is a twist zoom, and I think that retails for about £2,000, and I think my body was about 600-700. So it's not, you know, but you get what you pay for at the end of the day, you know.
With regard to your kit, Steve and Matt, and again, I'm aware that there are going to be people that are really red hot photographers. I class myself as a birder who takes pictures. I'm not really a photographer. I've been part of a photography group, which helped me a lot in terms of learning and developing, but I'm still a birder and enjoy the birding, and the pictures are secondary. I know others are different, and some are brilliant and have got the two going well. I won't mention a few names that I could, who I'm really impressed by in the county, but and maybe some of those are watching tonight. But yeah, kind of, I was going to say, kind of, one or two people are using big lenses rather than telescopes now, and using the, you know, kind of focus framing and everything to actually identify stuff. What are your thoughts on that? You ever do that, guys?
Yeah, well, yes and no. To be fair, I mean, if I'm just having a quick stop on the causeway at the reservoir before work, I won't always take my scope with me, to be honest with you. Because I've got better over lockdown when I wasn't taking the scope, obviously. I've got better just walking around with binoculars, so I'm enjoying that anyway. But B, yeah, I mean, if there's something that's miles away, you can quickly, you know, zoom in, even take a quick snap and expand it on the screen, and you can at least identify it more often than not. But no, I mean, I wouldn't ever, if I had to get rid of my, well, put it this way, I'm a birder that takes pictures. So I've got 3 bits of equipment, and my most important piece of equipment is my binoculars, then my scope, then my camera. And I love my camera, and I'm really enjoying taking pictures. But if I had to get rid of one of the 3, the camera would have to go. Yeah.
And I'm the same, to be honest. I'm a birder that takes pictures, you know. I think, I mean, bird photography's come a long way in the last 15 years or so, hasn't it? I mean, and you know, you do see a lot of people out there with just cameras, you know, no binoculars, you know, so which is obviously fine. But yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it, really?
Yeah. So what we've got coming up in a little while, I've been sent a lot of pictures. We actually asked people to send in pictures, and we've had a really, really good response. So first of all, huge thank you to everybody that sent in pictures. I've had, I think it was nearly 70 pictures sent through. We haven't got time to show them all, but what I have done is we're going to show at least one picture from everybody. Some people sent in multiple, some people sent in singles, and I've captioned them all, and I've also put on the caption which equipment was used to take the picture as well. So that'll be coming up later on, and we'll go through it, and obviously it's going to be available to view on the YouTube channel when this goes live over the weekend, so it'll be there if you ever want to refer back to it. But before we get to that, I don't know if you can you see that, guys?
Here, Matt, actually.
Can you see that on the screen?
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
good.
So basically, we just did a little mock-up, and this first of all, this isn't technical, and this is just some brief summary points. It doesn't cover everything, and it goes without saying that each type of camera has got its own strengths or weaknesses. There's no right or wrong. You know, a bridge camera can be absolutely essential and vital in some situations where you wouldn't want to be lugging around a great big huge heavy lens, and you can get brilliant results from all 3 formats. But if you see on the screen there, I've just put some ideas of you know, some of the differences basically between bridge, mirrorless and DSLR in terms of pros and cons. So just in summary, the bridge cameras are a bit smaller and lighter. They give you really good reach for the size, and one of the reasons for that is because they have a very small sensor, and I'll show you an example of that in a minute. But basically, you've got the equivalent reach of a great big lens using quite a small camera with a built-in lens, so you don't have to keep changing lenses. You can zoom in, you can zoom out, you can do wide angle, all from the one body. You have an electronic viewfinder, which means that when you're looking through the camera, what you see through the viewfinder is an exact representation of what the picture is going to finally look like. So if you make changes to brightness or aperture or anything like that, you'll see on the screen what the picture is going to look like when you actually take it, which can be quite useful. And it's certainly better than the compact cameras. It's a big step up from a compact, hence the name bridge. It's a bridge between a compact camera and the DSLR or mirrorless cameras. Cons of bridge cameras: low light performance. Because it has a small sensor, not much light hits the sensor, if that makes sense. And you've still got all those megapixels on a very small sensor, so each pixel is very tiny. So it can't process the light as efficiently as a bigger sensor with bigger pixels. So when the light starts to fade in the evening, you need to up the ISO setting on most cameras, and bridge cameras generally don't cope as well as cameras with a larger sensor. There are some exceptions. For example, Sony, I think it's the RX10 Mark IV, has got a 1-inch sensor, which is a really good sized sensor on a bridge camera. Doesn't give you as much reach, but the image quality is a bit better. It can be difficult to photograph birds in flight on some bridge cameras, not all. And again, that depends on the focusing system and also depends on the settings you use as well. The electronic viewfinder, when I say it can lag, what that means is there's sometimes a tiny delay. If you move the camera, you can sometimes notice that the display is slightly behind because it's obviously electronically processing what it's doing before it hits your eye. And tricky light, what that means is if it's dark, or I found with my bridge camera in bright light, I actually struggled to find a target sometimes. It may have been because the settings I had weren't quite right, but it was sometimes a bit tricky. And the lack of changeable lenses can be limiting. All that means is really with a camera where you can change lenses, you can have lenses with wide apertures to give you shallow depth of field. You can have macro lenses that will let you get really, really close, although bridge cameras do have macro modes, but it's not quite as good. So just more flexibility with a DSLR or mirrorless. Very briefly, mirrorless and DSLR, they're quite similar. You can change the lenses on them. The mirrorless, because it doesn't have the mirror inside, it's lighter. And it's also quieter, so you don't get that shutter noise of the mirror flapping up and down when you take pictures. And you have choices of sensors on mirrorless cameras, such as the micro four thirds that Steve was talking about, which gives you a 2 times reach. So if you put a 300mm lens on a micro four thirds camera, it becomes the equivalent of a 600mm lens. And again, as I said, I've got an example of what that means in just a few moments. Electronic viewfinder again. The cons of mirrorless, not much really. When you change a lens, if you do it in the field, there's no mirror in front of the sensor. So in theory, something could get in there, but it could still happen with a DSLR as well. The electronic viewfinder uses battery a little bit faster, but I think they're getting better on that. And obviously lenses with both mirrorless and DSLR, you have to carry them with you. So that's just another thing to carry if you want to bring some different lenses with you. And finally, DSLR is heavier, it's bigger, it's got the mirror. Now, the advantage of the mirror is you've got an optical viewfinder, which means that you're actually looking at exactly what the lens is seeing. So if the light's low or if it's bright, it's like looking through a scope almost. So it's generally a clearer view through the viewfinder. Most of the things between mirrorless and DSLR are very similar, but the mirrorless has got the advantage of obviously the weight and noise. So again, if you're photographing a bird, I know with my DSLR, I'm aware it makes a noise. So if I'm taking a few pictures of a bird, the bird will sometimes look at me and you think, well, okay, I've got to back off. I've got to go further away. And that's when you need a zoom, obviously, so you don't disturb the wildlife. That's the most important part of photography. And that's really about it, I think. So mirrorless and DSLR are very similar. Mirrorless, I think, are going to become more popular as time goes by, which I alluded to earlier on. It's probably the future of photography. And they've got all these newfangled bodies and lenses coming out, which are going to do all sorts of wonderful things.
Yeah, there's these full frame mirrorless cameras, aren't there, that kind of are now entering the market, very expensive. But and again, I think you have to have separate lenses. You have to buy all your lenses again, which is a little bit of a. But you mentioned weight and size there, Matt, and this was yesterday, and this is one of the main reasons why I am sticking to micro four thirds at the most, and love the bridge as well. Because that in the front there is my camera kit.
Cool. If you come back to me just for a second, your lens there is a 300 lens. That is the equivalent of what I've got here. You can see in the little view. So
There you
for
go.
me to get that reach, this is what I've got. Big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they
All
say
right.
size doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So they say.
Obviously, your sensor's smaller,
Yeah.
but you get better reach from it. My sensor's bigger, so in theory, better low light performance and better, shallower depth of field. It's pros and cons. Nothing's perfect, and there's advantages and disadvantages to all of it.
But the key is we'll see what we do with them later, won't we?
Oh,
We'll
yeah,
show our
definitely.
goodies, hey?
Yeah.
Do you want to
Can I
do that cropping thing first, Matt?
Yeah, I was just
or,
going to say, should I do it really, really quickly? I won't blabber on because I know I tend to.
and I'll show you the.
Hold on 1 second. Let me just see if I can load up the first picture. So all I've done, this is actually just a picture I took on my camera last week. But what I've kind of mocked up, it's not absolutely exact. I didn't have time to sort of measure it out to the pixel. Can you see that?
Yeah, got that, Robin.
Okay, so it's Robin. Now, what I'm saying is, if, say, for example, this was taken on a full frame camera. So what we mean by that, a full size sensor is a 35mm sensor, a bit like the old 35mm film that we all used to use. So if that was taken on a full frame camera, if you took exactly the same picture on a crop sensor camera like my one and like Sir Steve G's one, which has got roughly a 1.5 times crop, what happens is the light coming through the lens still hits the sensor, but because the sensor's smaller, the sensor actually kind of sees less of what's coming through the lens. So I've mocked up a little box there to simulate roughly that. I know it's not in exactly central, but you get the idea. It's roughly the size of a crop sensor compared to a full frame sensor. It's possibly even slightly too big, to be fair. But the idea is that when you then take the picture with this camera, all your megapixels are going to be concentrated in this area here. So what you actually see when you look at the picture home is a bigger picture. So it has the effect of magnifying by 1.5. You're not magnifying optically, you're magnifying by cropping, and it's very similar to cropping the photograph itself, which Steve will explain later on. The difference is that all of the megapixels in your camera are focused on the crop. But as I said before, the bigger the sensor, the bigger the pixels, the better they handle the light. The smaller the sensor, the smaller the pixels, but the more crop the sensor gives you. So the more you zoom in. All right. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. Probably doesn't though. But there you go.
No, that's good, Matt.
Good. Yeah, really
And I
good.
can follow up on that because, again, wanted to kind of show that obviously kind of when you are cropping and when you're on a small bird at distance, obviously you're magnifying that struggle that the micro four thirds sensor has, or the bridge camera, which has got slightly smaller sensor. And so that's where you would probably notice the most a loss of detail perhaps on the subject, and again particularly in low light. But here, to example that, this is up at the tree hide in Minsmere, which is up in the roof canopy, so you're limited with the light. You can see the light and shade there. And this is was taken on my my G7 camera, micro four thirds, and it's a gold crest. But this is the actual picture that it was cropped from. This is post-production, where in Lightroom or some software, I've actually cut the square out from the picture that I actually want. So that was the actual picture. The bird was probably about 4 meters away. So it was quite confiding, otherwise I wouldn't have had a chance. But I've actually cut, if you notice where those leaves are, you'll see where I've actually cut in post-production, as it's called, with a G7 micro four thirds camera, and I'm happy with that result. I can see it's a little bit washed out. The light's maybe not quite right, and would be better, if you had a lens the size of a football, it'd be brilliant. And they are out there at a price. But for me, climbing the tree with my bag, I don't want to fall out on the way up. So there you go. But then also on post-production, as we're talking about that, so that's another area of discussion. I use an old version of Lightroom for a lot of that, or Silky Pix, which is the Panasonic. Here we've got a sparrowhawk in the garden. This is actually probably taken through a window as well on a really dull day. It was December, 7th of December, And this is taken on FZ82. This is when I was trying out the FZ82. It just happened to come in nicely. And this is pretty much as I saw the bird. Yep. But then in post-production, you can do all these fancy things. And again, this is where I'm a birder and not a photographer. And that really kind of takes forthright position. Because what I could do is hit a button and auto expose, and suddenly it becomes like that. It's lighter. Oh, the sun's shining now. No. Brings out the light in the eye and things like that, you know?
Yeah. And
just takes that kind of haze off. But that wasn't what I saw. And so I prefer to stick with the old one. But what it does do, you can see the picture's a bit grainy now. Yeah. And it's magnifying that as well as the, you know, the sensor's obviously struggling with the light conditions. On a bridge camera, the FZ82. But then again, going a stage further in post-production, you know that your eye reads from the left to the right, so things look better when they're kind of looking at the right direction. And so what you really want to do in post-production is change the picture completely and put the Sparrowhawk in the other side of the tree. Yeah, nice. Then it becomes the perfect picture for photographers, but not for me. That's not how I saw it.
Yeah. Well, we've got a small gap there. We've got some feedback on YouTube. So Sam Murphy, he uses a Sony bridge camera. Great piece of kit. So I don't know if it's the one I mentioned earlier, but I think all the Sony bridges are really, really good. He also said, Steve, if you turn the touch screen off, then your nose won't affect it. And I think, if I remember on my Nikon, there was an option to turn the touch screen off. But
yeah, there was.
Then you can't use it. So
the only problem was it didn't work in idiot mode. No, I could do that, but it was I really kind of wanted a camera with a screen that would rotate and flip.
Yeah. Nick Lay, he started with a Fuji HS50 EXR bridge.
Very good camera.
Yeah, he still got it, and it still works after 15 years.
And you can pick those up. Somebody tipped me off about that a couple of years ago. I met a guy who was using one. He took a better picture of a crossbill than I did on the FZ200. Wow. And he said, you can pick them up for about 80 quid if you're lucky on eBay in those places.
But he upgraded to a Canon 70D with a Sigma 150-500. And then he upgraded again to a 77D with a Sigma 150-600. And then Sam Murphy saying he likes his bridge camera because it's small and easy to carry with the bins and scope. So he agrees with what we're saying. And then for his moth trapping, Sam uses his phone. Because the phone from that goes perfect. Just, you know, you've got a moth, click with your phone, job done. Anything on Facebook, Steve? Any
no, nothing on Facebook, I believe. Nothing so far.
Okay.
Cool.
So what do you use for post-processing then, Matt?
To be fair, I just use the Nikon software, which is called Capture NXD, I think. So I shoot in RAW. So I do like a basic JPEG file, which doesn't take up much space and doesn't take long to write to the memory card, and then a RAW file. And
when it might be good for us to define difference between RAW and JPEG.
Yeah, so RAW is basically just a much larger data file. So when it takes the picture, it doesn't do any processing at all. Most cameras will process the picture to a JPEG, which means it makes it smaller, it maybe sharpens it, whatever you set it to do, really. So you can have all sorts of different effects, and the camera will do the processing for you, and then you can just view the pictures or email them or download them or whatever you want to do, which is absolutely great. It really does work. But if you want to have more control on post-processing, if you shoot in RAW, you get like a basic RAW data file for the entire photograph. So it's a much bigger file. It's like 25 meg. But because it's a bigger file, it's more detailed, so you can do more with it. So if you want to bring sort of dark areas of the screen out, or if you want to reduce noise or sharpen or anything at all, then you'll get better effects with the RAW file. And actually, we had an email asking, I think it might have been, I can't remember who it was, I'm so sorry, it might have been Win and David Simmons.
I think it was,
yeah. And they were asking what we do post-processing. So what do you do, guys? What do you do, Steve?
So because time's an issue for me, I just tend to shoot JPEGs, high quality JPEGs. Yep. I don't have the time to process raw images. If I'm doing a tour or a trip somewhere, I just want to get the images on the computer, edit them, done, you know. Yep. So I shoot in JPEG. and I used Photoshop Elements. Pretty much does everything I need to do. It's a very inexpensive program. It's about 70 quid. And basically I just crop, lighten and darken, you know, bring out the highlights and shadows. And that's pretty much it really, you know. So, I mean, I know you don't have the control like you do over a RAW file, but, you know, to be fair, I mean, not blowing my own trumpet, but over the years you get to know how the camera works.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So although I do get quite a few dodgy ones, most of them, touch wood, don't require much processing really.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, in all these programs, you can spend hours, can't you? Tweaking, you know, color balance and hues and saturation, and
yeah, no.
I just don't have time for that, you know. But you know, but I say Photoshop Elements is really good for what I want. You know.
Yeah.
How about you, Steve?
I use an old version of Lightroom before they made it a monthly subscription thing on an old Windows 7 machine, which I'm kind of patching up with sticky tape to keep it going, keeping it off the internet so it doesn't get anywhere near a virus. But just another point, as Steve said, you know, it's not unusual for me to take 10,000 pictures, you know, when it's on a burst mode. I'll just snap anything and everything, and then you've got to go through them at home.
Yeah.
10,000 pictures in a year, and this camera, this FZ200 Lumix has definitely done 25,000, 30,000 pictures, and so you know, there's a reliability as well about, you know, most of the cameras for really turning over numerous pictures. But then, yeah, I crop more so with the new G7, I'm having to crop more. Before I could zoom in and out to the crop that I wanted on the bridge. And then sometimes I'll just tweak. There's something called sharpness where the picture can look a little bit grainy in RAW, and tweak that just to sharpen the picture up, possibly a little bit on the exposure. Because I might choose, for instance, if there's a falcon about or something that's fast, and I need to try and shoot it even in dull light, I'll still use a fast shutter speed, but then I will compensate with the post-processing, Lightroom, whatever, just to bring the light up on the picture so that you can actually see the image.
Cool. Yeah, I'm saying I just do a bit of sharpening, bit of contrast and brightness, straighten it if it's wonky, crop it to make it look, you know, get the right presentation of it. And that's it, done. Yeah, not too much.
Should we,
Right, so,
you got any more questions, Matt?
no, I don't think I've got any more questions at the moment. So
should we show them some of our ones we're pleased with before? I've already,
why not? And then
I've already kind of done that with the Ringneck Parakeet. And
you just had a Facebook message from Alan Bright.
Yep.
He said, evening all, he uses a Canon 7D Mark II
nice.
with a Sigma 150-600mm contemporary lenses he's carry around kit, but last year he spoiled himself and he bought a Sigma 500mm f4.
Oh, very nice.
Which is a bit tasty.
Yep.
He says lovely lens, but it's heavy and almost impossible to handhold effectively. And he's just still finding his way with it. So
oh, good luck.
I'd dream, you know, you'd love one of those like big lenses, wouldn't you?
yeah,
But
definitely.
practicality, you know, you can't. Can you imagine carrying one of those with your scope and your bins?
yeah.
That's the thing. They weigh like 3.5 kilos, I think, just for the lens. So, One of our first birding experiences was to drive down to Pitsea Tesco's, as it was, to look for the winter waxwings when they were in. Yep.
And when we arrived, there was this guy, as I say, with a scope, with a camera with a lens the size of a football, and he was a pro. He'd driven up from Kent to get the pictures, and I'm sure he was getting some. But it's okay if you just have to step out the car.
Yeah. Wouldn't want to walk around Old Hall Marshes with a 500 F4, to be fair. No.
Well, if you did, you'd come back 6 inches short. You know, it's just like
pictures. Let's do some pictures. So,
okay,
go on, guys. Show us your best.
I've got this one. I've been itching to show this one.
That's lovely.
Get in first. But yeah, this is taken with a bridge camera, low light. This is about 4:30 in the morning, and it was probably duller than it looks there. That's one that I've lifted, and it's Days in the Mist at Westleton again up near Minsmere. And that photograph actually received an award, and I got a prize for it in a photography club or photographer group that I was part of. So I'm quite pleased with that one.
Very nice.
And we might as well just rattle through because I've only got a couple. That was taken again with a bridge camera with the LT55, that adapter, which blurs the background, and that is as it was, no cropping. The puffing was taken from a hide on Skokholm, so they are fairly close. That one was probably about 20, 30 feet away. But I'm very happy with that one. It's always good to have a puffing. I've shown you the gold crest.
Yeah, that's nice. I like that.
Yeah, I do like the gold crest.
I like the lichen on that one. I like
the autumn colours.
Yeah, the colours of autumn.
Very nice.
Just it looking up there, it just kind of struck a pose. And then this was one from the other day that I took for tonight, just to show you.
Hey, like that.
Meadow pipit in flight on the sea wall. It's not always the kind of sexy puffing type birds. It's some of the little brown jobs as well. Just I like that. I like the kind of movement of the wing there. Kind of shows. I know somebody, I won't mention him, who kind of had a great picture of a dragonfly, where one of these southern migrant hawkers that's rare or whatever.
Yep.
And he turned up at the same group that I was at, and there was a guy who he'd won the BBC Photographer of the Year with some of you will remember the picture of the small monkeys around the pool of steaming lava type pool in Japan.
Yep.
He won it with that particular photograph, and he was talking about it. And he wasn't at all impressed at our friends. I was really impressed with his dragonfly, but the fact it was just absolutely static and stuck there, he kind of really gave it some stick. But yeah, so they're my little contributions.
That's nice. What have I got? I'll just do mine. Just back to Alan Bright, just messaged, and he said he's very lucky. His wife is his birding partner, so she carries the scope and he carries the camera. So
that's the way.
Love it. Brilliant. Nick Lay, by the way, says your picture's very nice, Steve.
Thanks, Nick.
Very nice pics. And Sam Murphy, great meadow pipit, loves it.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Just lost Zoom completely. Here we go. Right, let's just share. So yeah, so I was very lucky about 3 or 4 years ago to co-lead actually a photography tour to Morocco. So where the emphasis was pretty much on photography rather than the birding, and so I took about 30,000 pictures in a week. But this is pallid swift.
Wow.
Yeah.
Favourites, just showing all the details.
To capture
how far away would that be from you, Steve?
What bird?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're
not the country.
Yeah. So yeah, so Morocco. This was so. And they're migrating through Morocco in March, heading into Spain and places.
What shutter speed did you use to take that? Do you know?
I have no idea, to be fair. It was obviously, but just back to our settings and stuff.
Yeah.
I always use aperture priority.
Uh-huh.
And I know we spoke the other night, guys, didn't we? And
yeah, we did.
Said that he uses shutter priority, and in the last 2 days, I've been using shutter priority.
Mm-hmm.
It seems, touch wood, to be really good. So especially for birds in flight, really good.
Yeah. I'm using manual, but I wasn't joking about the idiot mode. I started out using that because I didn't have a clue, and you have to grow into it, don't you?
Yeah.
Very much. So yeah, so it's pallid swift. This isn't a most crucially sharp picture. This is a Hoopoo Lark that's flying, and it's quite. They sort of throw themselves up in the air and then drop down.
Do they actually land in the ground like?
Unless they're not very good birds, and they do land like that. Oh yeah, this was a quail.
Nice. That's lovely.
And they're not easy. They're not easy to see, but this one was about 6 feet away.
And it's worth saying that bird is what size, Steve? It's fit in your hand, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's the size of a
It's not pheasant size.
Sorry.
It's not, because the picture almost makes it look pheasant size, doesn't it?
Oh, they're tiny. I say they're
tiny,
like
beautiful.
Glass. Yeah. So
look at the blade of grass. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's quail, and then
stunning.
This is from Hungary, from a tour that I did, and lovely European bee eater.
Absolutely gorgeous.
But it's like you can end up taking I've got on my hard disk, because I've got nearly 80,000 photographs. I mean, it's just...
Well, mine are a little bit boring, to be fair, compared to those, Steve. I'm glad I'm going last. Thanks for that.
I'm sure.
So my first one, you've probably seen this before, but I really like this picture. I've got it as the backdrop on my computer when it loads up, and this was taken down at Two Tree Island, and this med gull was just kind of hovering over everyone, so it wasn't difficult to take a picture of it, but it came out nice and sharp, and it was just looking straight at me. And the bird itself is immaculate plumage, and I just like the picture. There's no clouds in the sky, nothing at all. That's literally just, it was sharpened and cropped, and that's it. I didn't do anything else with it.
To be fair, it's a mid goal, so what's wrong? You know.
Well, yeah.
I mean, come on. But the light through the wings is amazing on that.
Yeah, just looks lovely, doesn't it? Perp Sand. This was taken, I think it was earlier this year. I think it might have been late last year. I can't remember. It's this winter anyway, just gone. Yeah, again, very close, very confiding. But to take this, I literally had to lie on my belly.
It's prone. It's gone prone.
In puddles of water because it had been raining. So I got absolutely soaked, and there were people watching, like looking at me as if I'd gone completely bonkers, which obviously I had. But I was quite pleased with the result. I was quite pleased with that one.
Love that.
And then the final one, again, similar thing. Really.
Nice.
I just kind of got down to quite close to water level. It was a misty morning, similar to your deer picture. To be fair, I think mist always looks quite nice. And
the atmosphere, isn't it?
Away a few pictures, and they happened to just make a nice shape and bit of water going on there as well. So, and I actually quite like the robin picture I put up earlier on as well because it's got a nice blurry background. So yeah, there you go.
Nice,
brilliant.
There you go.
Really good.
So
We better show them that we don't always get it right, do we?
Yeah, go on.
Did I bet you guys have not got any of these, have you? I said the other night when we were pre talking about the
leave it to you,
program.
Steve.
This one I want to dedicate to Simon Wood. And it's as you can read, a hummingbird hawk moth.
Hummingbird hawk moth, that should be.
My photography.
Tell you something, your Verbena bonariensis plant there is in very good shape.
Oh yeah, it's beautifully caught that beautifully. That's what it really was a picture with.
Nick Lay loves your puffin picture, Steve. He says he's booked on for Skoma in a couple of months, so it's first time he's done it, and he's really looking forward to it.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, brilliant.
Skoma's so good. Yeah, really good.
Shall we share some of the pictures that people have sent us?
Let's do it. Let's show the real ones now.
We've had enough of us.
Okay, so let me just see what I can find here. So once again, yeah, I mean, massive thanks to everyone that sent the pictures in. We had, like I said, we had so many, and apologies if you're the one that you wanted to show didn't make it on here, but I've tried to pick as many as I could, and hopefully got a good selection. And everyone who sent pictures in up until kind of 7:30, you'll have at least one picture on here, or you should.
Wow, that's good
If I
work.
have missed anyone, I apologise, of course.
I think it's worth saying Matt's been working hours to actually pull all this together, so big hats off to Matt on this today.
Well, luckily I wasn't at work, so although to be fair, if I had been at work, I'd probably still have done it. But I'm just going to the office for a few hours. Really important stuff to do. Yeah. Right. So first up, Jim Hume Nightingale with a Canon 7D Mark II and a Sigma lens. What do we think of that, guys?
Lovely. Yeah, difficult bird to get out in the open as well. You've got to snap them while you can. Although I think the Abberton ones have been a bit showy, haven't they?
Oh, mega. Yeah, they've been really showy. Yeah, but I just love that pic.
Lovely. Yeah.
So thanks for that, Jim.
Classic Nightingale posture, isn't it?
Beautiful. So Glyn Evans has sent a few pictures in. So I've pulled up sort of 5 or 6 of his that I really liked.
Lovely.
Leicester Red Pole.
That's a bridge.
Yeah, bridge camera. I mean, you know what? You're talking about smaller sensors and so on. The pictures that Glyn's got with his bridge camera, absolutely fantastic. And
yeah.
In good light, I didn't say that earlier on. I should have done. So apologies. In good light, a bridge camera can take some absolutely cracking pictures. Yeah. It's only when the light starts to drop that you can struggle a little bit. But quality of picture, fantastic. I mean, that's a lovely picture, isn't it? We then got from Glyn again, Chetties. So I've yet to take a picture of a Chetty. Haven't got one yet. I don't know if you guys have.
Yeah, they're not easy, are they? But I mean, Glyn's got that.
Not as good as that.
Glyn's got his bridge camera working to a T there.
Yeah.
Stunning.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got a pale belly Brent.
That's pale-bellied Brent.
So again, the way he's caught that one, you can, the difference between the sort of dark neck and the pale belly.
And that is good, yeah, because it's not in good light, and not a nice background brightening. Yeah,
that's the thing. I mean, you can see the light because you can't really make out the eye because the light is obviously poor. But he's done a fantastic, and again, the focus is spot on as well. I think this is possibly my favourite picture of the ones he sent in. I just love this because the light on it, the detail of the swallow.
Iridescent blue.
Yeah,
black.
on the face. I mean, when you see it on full screen and without, the YouTube loss of quality, it's a beautiful picture. And I also like the way the tail streams. One's going just underneath the wire and one's going just over, like that. Tawny Owl again from Glyn with his bridge. Beautiful, looking straight at him, obviously posing well. And then finally from Glyn, we've got a jay on the left-hand side, which again are really tricky birds to take pictures of. Just to prove that bridge cameras can do birds in flight, you've got a lovely marshy on the right-hand side.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Nice male marshy. And we move on to pictures from Bill Perkins. So thanks for Bill for sending these in, and thanks again, Glyn, obviously for sending yours. Bearded tit, look at that.
That's stunning.
That's great.
That is.
I think if you actually kind of could pose the bird, you wouldn't do it any better than that, would you? Really?
I bet he's going, hello, I've got a very high voice.
Yeah,
squeaking.
Hurry up and take the picture.
My legs are splitting.
That was with an EOS ATG,
pings.
and that was with the slightly newer version of the lens you use, Steve. So
yeah, same
really
body
nice.
line, yeah, lovely.
Really nice. Corn Bunting again, same camera and lens combination. But I love this one because he's got the bird in focus. It's obviously mid-song, jangling away, and the background's nice and blurred as well, which is always good because it really brings the subject out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Looks lovely. And ring plovers with babies. So that kind of replicates, I don't know if you guys remember the picture I showed last month of the little ring plovers. It's kind of the ring plover version of that picture. So there you go. So thanks, Bill, for those photographs. We then got a picture from Lee Burton. He sent this in via Twitter, taken on an EOS 5D. I'm not sure which lens he used. I did ask him via a private message, but I hadn't heard back as of 7:30. But beautiful, beautiful clear shot here. We couldn't work out what the prey was. We think it maybe, you guys were thinking maybe a tiny little rabbit or something, possibly, because it's got that kind of brownish colour on it, but it's really difficult to tell, isn't it?
Yeah, difficult one.
Yeah. So if anyone's got any ideas on that, let us know on the chat. That'd be good. Then we've got, these are from Mel Shepherd Wells. Now, this is brilliant because this shows how good it can be to have your phone with you and a little adapter. You can pick them up for like 20 quid and pop your phone on your scope. And all of a sudden, you've got a camera with a massive lens.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant for taking record shots of things like this European beta that you've seen. Spotted flycatcher. And again, even through a phone and a scope, you can get a really nice blurry background. It looks really lovely. That does.
I mean,
and got a close up of a wood pigeon.
Lovely. I mean, a lot of
favourite bird. Sorry.
I was just going to say, a lot of phones now. I mean, my new phone has got this 48 megapixel camera.
Yeah.
So you can get some, great quality images now through the scope and the phone.
Yeah, no, they're cracking. They really are. So thanks for those, Mel. Brilliant. Then we've got a picture from Mark Rowley of Barn Owl, and he's taken this with Nikon D500, which is a DSLR, and a Sigma lens 150 to 600. So again, much as with your Mippet, he's got the bird itself in focus, but you've got the wings showing the movement.
Yeah.
I really like that. Chetty's Warbler. Now this is lovely. This was taken, this is digiscope, not phone scope. So he put a camera onto his scope. And you've got the Chetties and the pose of that Chetties and the sort of grasses on the left-hand side. I just think that's a really nice picture with the blurred background.
That is really lovely.
Beautiful composition on that.
Lovely. Really nice.
And then we had some pictures from Peter Hewitt. So he used a Nikon D500, and he's got one of those big 500 PF lenses. I think they're an f4, if I'm correct. Might be a 5.6, not sure. Yeah, have a set with chicks, and still looks like a couple of eggs in there as well.
That's lovely, isn't it? Beautiful, beautiful.
Kestrel. I mean, it was beautiful. The, you know, the lighting on that, stunning, absolutely stunning bird. And basically, we think it's just probably the same bird again, but it's got a dragonfly. So, oh, hold on, I think that's me beeping away. There we go. So it's called a dragonfly. So it's being a bit like a hobby, really, behaving like a hobby, but it's obviously not a hobby. It's a kestrel.
Looks like a migrant hawker it's got there. So. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't pick that up. Should have done.
All right.
So yeah, thanks for those pictures, Peter. They're really good pictures, Peter. Now this one is one of my favourites, I think, of the ones I looked at, just because of the reflection. I mean, the reflection of that grey wag. I just love that picture. Really nice.
Beaks just touching the water as well.
Yeah, really nice. And Canon 7D Mark II DSLR with a 300mm f2.8. So whether he had a converter on that or not, I don't know. But
it might be worth saying there, Matt, that maybe David, in fact, as if he did, snapped it just at that particular moment. But for me, I often benefit from pictures not quite as good as that, but with kind of one of a series in burst mode, where I'm taking multiple pictures, and I can pick out one that's just, got that little bit extra factor.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's something I should have mentioned earlier, because mirrorless cameras can take more frames per second than DSLR, because they've got to wait for the mirror to do this.
I could probably mention as well, I use a little trick on mine because it's a 4K camera. And again, we didn't even really talk about the video possibilities, which is a whole nother subject.
Yeah.
But I have with a 4K, I can set it up to actually take pictures before I press the shutter.
Right.
So for instance, if a cuckoo's sat on a wire and I'm just waiting for it to take off, I can frame a bird up, wait for it to, in fact, lightning, for instance, I took pictures of lightning by waiting for the lightning to happen, have it on the pre-4K picture, and it takes 30 shots through a 2-second or 3-second period pre and post that time I press the shutter.
So it's like it's got a buffer.
So there's a buffer all the time working in video, and then you get an 8 megapixel picture, 30 actually, across that 2.5, maybe 3-second period. Yeah.
Okay. Just quickly, we've got Les Malloy. So hi, Les. How you doing? And he said that's a classic beardy pose. Yeah, it really was, wasn't it? And Tim Hayward thinks that the maybe the prey the kestrel had was a small turtle. You know what? Should we go back?
Come on, let's go back and have a look.
Sorry.
Zoom in
very quickly. Hold on. I know there's a lag on these pictures, so please bear with me. There we go.
Small turtle.
I don't know.
It's got that shape.
Looks a bit furry, maybe.
Furry, yeah.
Well, I can see what he means. It looks like there's like
it's got like a shell on the back, and the head.
I don't know. It's probably a Big Mac or something, Anyway, right. So where were we? We were there, weren't we? That's David Saville. So next picture from David, Puffin with a beak full of little sprats. So lovely. And again, these 300mm lenses, f2.8, basically, without getting too technical, it just means that the lens can open the aperture opens much wider before you take the picture. And what happens is it gives you a shallow depth of field. So even when you're close to something, you can still blur the background, which is exactly what he's done there. So it's really nice. And then you've got Goldfinch, and Steve G can explain what's going on with this one, can't you, Steve?
Well, it was obviously a tree full of thistle seeds, isn't it?
When I was processing this, this is so funny. I saw this because I've been doing so many pictures today, and I saw a little bit of fluffy stuff on here. I thought it was a thistle head. I didn't even look. And it's only when I was showing Steve the pictures earlier on, and I said, yeah, so it's a goldfinch, feeding on thistles. And he said, nah, that's got young in a nest. And I was like, oh, yeah. So I felt a bit stupid there. So there you go.
It's an amazing picture, that is.
Great find as well to find the nest there.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the nest here. You see the young in there very clearly, obviously. It looks really lovely. So, yeah, well done.
Yeah, well done.
Great picture.
Snow bunting. So, again, from David, a beautiful background and lovely lighting on that one. This one was probably one of my favourites, I think. A couple of guillemots, just going past. But again, they're just, yeah, capturing that, and the way they both got their wings up at the same time, it just looks really nice. And then the final picture from David was a little long-tailed tit.
Wow.
Young family, siblings, I guess. Just all huddled together, waiting for their food or something, I expect. So really nice. So again, yeah, nice Canon EOS D 7D with the 300 f2.8 lens. So really nice combination. Next picture is from Glenn Moore. So hi Glenn, if you're watching. Thanks for sending this in. And this is very topical. This is the two Barwits, or two of the three Barwits, in fact, that have been at Abberton for the last few days. But this is a great picture because it really shows the difference between the winter plumage bird on the left and the summer plumage bird on the right. So really nice to see them together and beautiful light. And he used a Canon EOS 7D and 100 to 400 lens. I would imagine possibly the same as you've got, Steve.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He might have the new one actually. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. But, so you've got another close-up of the Barwit this time. So this is Andy Johnson, who's taken this on his Olympus with the 300mm lens, but of course on a micro 4/3 camera, that gives him 600mm of reach.
Yeah.
So lovely, beautifully zoomed in picture.
I mean, they've got to be the most photographed bar-tailed godwits in Essex.
Probably in the world, I reckon.
And the world, yeah.
Yeah. And then we've just got a few more left. So we've got Steve Wilkinson has sent a few in. You've got Linnet taken on the EOS 7-2D with the 100-400. So again, a really popular combination. Lovely picture.
Yep. Nice.
Robin, either singing or catching or spitting out a fly. So I don't know which, but looks really cool. Like that.
Beautiful on that.
Yeah, the beautiful autumn leaves complement the breast really nicely, don't they? Whiteheaded Vulture, and this was taken, I can't remember where, I'm so sorry, but it was taken in a park somewhere in this country, but obviously a lovely close-up of the birds.
Yeah, lovely.
This one wasn't taken in this country, it's taken in Africa, and I don't know which country in Africa, but this was southern red-billed hornbill. So again, a really nice picture. And I think it was a variety of cameras he used for these. You can see down the bottom left what they are. Different options there. And then finally, from Steve, a picture taken at Wallasey. And I think this was on a day trip with yourself, Steve G.
Yeah, and just interestingly, Matt, that Steve Wilkinson's just messaged.
Okay.
He'd been sending some emails to the EBS Talks email.
Oh, crikey. Sorry, we're not looking at that. Sorry.
Fine. He just take my glasses off. He says there's a couple of points. He said on more recent DSLRs, he said that a lot of the cameras have a focus bracketing mode.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
If you're photographing like the ladybird, it will take a series of shots at different lengths. And then when you do post processing, it sort of arranges them all.
It stacks them
together.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the word.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then he says that more recent mirrorless cameras have a half mechanical, half electronic shutter, as well as a full electronic shutter.
Okay.
Yes.
And also the full frame R5, which you use to take this corn bunting image, has a crop sensor option.
Okay, that's useful.
That extends the reach at the touch of a button. So, these mirrorless cameras are going to be, I think the way forward, like you say.
Definitely. I mean, this again, what a cracking picture of the corn bunting, and lovely, really brings the subject out, and nice blurred background, and again, just call it mid burst. So really nice.
The wonderful thing is, sorry, go on, Matt.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say kind of that we're all able to actually capture decent images now with the equipment that that's available to us, isn't it? And
that's the thing. I mean, you can go to a camera shop. They all sell used equipment. You can look on eBay. Money is not really the issue.
Barrier like it used to be. Yeah.
No. I mean, there's kind of brilliant sort of
limitation of equipment.
Yeah, brilliant pre-owned equipment available. So this is Sparrowhawk from Simon Cox. So thanks for this, Simon. And that was taken on his Nikon 90D. With the Sigma 150-600 lens, and again, really smart bird.
Cracking adult bird with some age, that isn't it?
Yeah.
And final entry. This is someone who doesn't know that they've made the entry, but if anyone don't know if anyone follows Simon Wood on Twitter at all.
It must be a moth. Is it
Well,
a hummingbird hawk moth?
No. This is the EBWS president, and he had a glossy ibis fly over his garden, and he obviously ran and grabbed his camera and pointed it at the ibis and took a picture. And unfortunately,
he's got form, hasn't he, Matt? Because last year he had cranes flying over.
Yeah. But this one, he reliably says that the ibis is in the circle there, although I couldn't see it.
Can we zoom in?
Well, what I did is I downloaded some software that enabled me to really zoom into the picture and enhance the picture as well.
Okay.
And I think he might have been mistaken because it wasn't an ibis. It was, in fact...
Ah!
I'm sorry. It's been a long day.
Superb.
Okay, so that's it, I think.
Simon.
But and on a serious note, thanks to everyone for sending in all the pictures. Apologies if I missed anything. But I've actually, it's taken quite a few hours to do it all, but I've really enjoyed doing it because there's been some really great pictures to work with. So yeah, thank you.
And also just to say to Simon, great sighting that glossy ibis and the wood warbler as well that you found, Simon. Great job this week. We're only kind of pulling your leg. But we've got news, haven't we, regarding photography going forward. We've had an idea to have a little, just nothing serious. As I say, we're birders before photographers, and we wouldn't, make a judging panel for, dancing or lice, let alone anything else. But we thought kind of if you want to send in just one photo per person of something you've seen in the next month for our next program, which is going to be towards the end of May, then we'll have a look at it, and we might even kind of do a top of the photo pops or something like that, kind of back to 80s era, 90s era.
if we get enough people send pictures in, and you can either email them to ebwstalks@gmail.com, or you can send them via Twitter to @ebwstweets. And what we'll do is if you can send them in a week before the next talk goes ahead, so give us time to do this. But between the three of us, we'll pick our favourite four, and then we'll pop them on Twitter and just do a Twitter poll. We won't say who's taken them or anything. It won't be any of us, obviously. And then we'll just get everyone to vote on what your favourite is, and we'll announce it at the next review. Just a bit of fun.
Great idea.
Well,
it'd be great if you could take part.
Time's zipping on as usual, and we're having fun. But thanks for everybody's feedback and certainly for the photos. But while Steve's getting ready to give us a report of what's about and feedback, the poll is finished for the Ringneck Parakeets. We have the results.
Go on there. Go.
And 13% of people are happy to embrace and enjoy them. 25% say leave for nature's way to take its course. 13% monitor and review, but that leaves 50% who, with me, say I think it's time to act now and remove them, relocate them, ideally back to India or kind of some city that would appreciate them. But obviously that's not going to happen, and we're just kind of discussing things. But very interesting, that kind of. There was 32. I only put the poll out last night. I was a little bit late on that, so apologies on that. But 32 votes on there, and so it's been great this month, hasn't it? Kind of the transition. I had field fairs flying off a week or two ago, and Short-eared Owl's been around as well, my local patch.
So obviously I've been out and about working, and I'll just share some photos that I've taken and that other people have taken. So so for the first few weeks of the month, it was all about wading herons and that sort of thing for me. So this was a spoonbill that we found at Wallasey Island that just stayed for about 10 minutes and then flew off, which was not the best picture, but a record shot. And then, pretty much the highlight of Abberton for early April was these 6 white storks that came in on I think it was a Sunday night. roosted at Great Wigborough Church, and at least 3 of these birds are from the Net reintroduction project down in Sussex. So that was really, really good to see those. And then they flew off the next morning and not been seen again since. So yeah, that was good. And then again, just goes to show, just a really rubbish record shot, but this is
see what it is.
a purple heron that was down at Blue House Farm.
Brilliant. Well done, Steve.
Yeah, Nightwood. In fact, the Canada goose is sharper than the heron, but yeah, just you can see what it is from it. This was seen, I don't know, early April by Martin Smithson, and then about a week later, I went down and just happened to see it a few times, and I don't think it's been seen again since.
No.
So, nice bird, and then there's a bit of a rubbish photograph of it in the reeds, and then just moving on quickly, and then went over to Fingering to look for nightingales, and Annette and I had 2 common cranes flying over.
Brilliant.
Which was a bit of a bonus. And then just a few showy birds. This redshank's been showing really well at Abberton, and just gaining summer plumage. And these purple sandpipers, this was taken this week at Holland Haven, and there were still 4 there today when I was there. So purple sands. Medgull.
Hey.
I can't do a thing like this without Medgull. And here's the bar-tailed godwit from Abberton.
Lovely.
Again, this was yesterday. And I just really like this shot. This was at Old Hall this week. So some cracking summer plumage black-tailed godwits. And then in the bottom right-hand corner, we've got a nice summer plumage spotted redshank. So
Really nice. Yeah.
And then down from Steve's neck of the woods, down in Tilbury and Rainham, that area. Lovely short-eared owl by Nick Lay. So it's a good record for this time of year.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nick.
Well done, Nick.
Yeah. A nice male ruff taken at Rainham by Pete Merchant. Lots of male ruffs being seen in the county at the moment, which is really good.
Nice.
Lovely shot there.
Yeah.
This is this.
Oh.
I love
Rainham's been on fire, hasn't it?
Yeah, and Ben Rumsey, he's done it again. Excellent shot there, Ben.
Yeah.
Of this lovely male ring ouzel.
Great shot.
Been a lot of ring ouzels around, hasn't there? Still, up to yesterday, there's one at Bowers Marsh.
Yeah, and there's one at Rabness today.
Rabness,
yeah. So that's really, really good shot. Rainham's, I was going to say bird of the month, I was going to say, but so this black-winged stilt, was it this week? Yeah, this week.
Yeah, I think so, earlier the week.
Just one day, though. It disappeared, didn't it? Unless I've seen it today. I haven't seen the news, but
hopefully it will turn up somewhere else in the Essex.
With a partner, hopefully.
And Howard also had a bee eater today.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Goodness
I
gracious.
think it was just a flyover, but
Rainham is on fire.
yeah, really good. And then we just finish up with
I love that shot
by Pete Merchant, which was a bit of a background bird when the black-winged stilt was there. But what a bird! Look at that.
Beautiful.
Stunning male cracker.
So
just
yeah,
glows.
that's it for me, really. Not just a quick thing.
Yeah. I went out onto my breeding bird survey route this week, which is on the edge of Linford. A little bit of woodland, and then heathland, and then primarily farming area. And generally, when I walk through the 3 sectors of the farming area, there's a pair of skylark, there's a couple of crows, there might be a buzzard on the pylon towards the middle of the field, and that's about it. Maybe a pheasant. But actually, I heard this bird calling. I thought, what's that? I recognise that. What is it? What is it? I could hear it coming from a tree, and there was this cracking yellow wagtail, male yellow wagtail. In the middle of a tree. There's only kind of a little tractor road with 3 oak trees remaining of what would have been a whole hedgerow probably years ago, but fantastic to see. That was my highlight. But then, as I say, kind of last weekend we had reed warblers. It's the first time for reed warblers on the patch that we did a big 5 mile. Again, I was going to work out how many square kilometres my patch is down here on this kind of area down towards East Tilbury, but I'm covering 5 miles in both directions. So whatever the mass is on that, 25 in it square miles.
5 and 5.
Is the area that I'm walking. Nightingales, I've been going down to an area listening for them. That's very, very important to me where actually they want to put the Lower Thames crossing through is one of the best nightingales, and there's 5 singing nightingales back there that will be decimated if they put that through there. I'm hoping they tunnel further back to take it back into the farmland and less onto the triple SI area of the estuary and everything, but we shall see. At the moment it's all on hold, which let's hope it remains maybe on that. Yeah, kind of, and I was sure when I was down there I heard a hoopoo.
Oh,
But I don't think I did. I think I heard another species of bird that I've heard before, but I won't mention at the moment.
okay. Okay.
But it got me going. I went on a couple of hours search on some heathland for a hoopoo, but I think I was fooled.
I've literally stayed local again this month. I've been Ardley and Abberton myself, but I know out at Holland they've had a few things going past. They've had water pipit out there. They've had lots of wimbrel coming through. I think they've had quite a few terns, red-throated divers, great northern divers earlier in the month. So lots of movement out towards Holland, and obviously big thumbs up to Mick Rodwell, Matt Lonsdale, and Paul Brayshaw over there, and all the other guys as well. They do a great job of monitoring the place. But yeah, so this month, literally Abberton and Ardley. But Abberton, not quite as good as Ben's picture, to be fair, but we managed to quickly see the ring ouzel that was a little bit elusive. That was at the beginning of the month on the 2nd. Then obviously you can't go to Abberton without taking a picture of a little ring plover. So this was just a few days later, I was back there, and there was a nice LRP very close on the causeway, so I got a snap of that. And at Abberton they have stackable LRPs, so I hope there are no children watching this time of night. But,
we're all right. It's all right.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, that's always good to see, and that's in the usual area for those that know where that is. Yellow wagtails, again, plenty of yellow wags around. Haven't had one at Ardley yet though, so I'm waiting for that because I think they bred there last year. And this was at Ardley. Got a nice view of a chiffy singing away. There's a lot of them singing away now up and down the road between the causeways. So really nice to see. And got a pair of great crested grebe that were having a bit of a display. So I love watching great crested grebes. They're trying to nest build at the moment. Unfortunately, the first nest that they tried, the water level has risen, and it's not there anymore. But I think they've subsequently moved to a reed bed, and I think they're nesting in the distance now. So be looking out for the young birds shortly, hopefully.
That's beautiful.
And talking of nesting birds, obviously just managed to see this little blue tit flitting around with a big beak full of nesting material, I guess. Yeah. So it's just great this time of year because all the birds are singing and they're all kind of getting ready for or are already breeding, and it's just a lovely time of year, particularly when the sun comes out. Back over at Abberton, this was on the 15th, just sort of in the evening, and distant record shot, obviously, but it's the first hobby that I had this year. And that was just feeding between the causeways, which was really nice. I was pleased to see that. And then back to Ardley around the corner from home, my first spring common sandpiper. That was on the 19th, just a few days ago. And finally, I had my first white throat at Ardley on the 21st, common white throats. We had common terns, didn't we, yesterday, Steve?
This particular bird was just incredibly close. I've never seen common terns so close. I mean, it was just ridiculous.
It just sat there, and it was a beautiful bird.
Yeah, as well.
And we had cuckoos.
You got a photograph of a cuckoo. I couldn't get a photograph.
There was three kind of flew just across the reservoir and disappeared. But I managed to snap one quickly.
Pretty flitty at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah. And of course, there was a few wimbrel around as well. We saw a couple, I think, but you had 5, didn't you, before I got there? Yeah,
we had 5 early. But then I was at Holland Haven and the Naze this morning, and been quite a few wimbrel through there today.
Yeah. Good. And of course, had to have a picture of the barwit, obviously. Just nice to see them at Abberton. I've never seen one at Abberton. When was last? When were they last there? Do you know?
Do you know what I mean? I saw they're a rare bird for the reservoir. I mean, I remember seeing one. It's got to be 30 years ago, I reckon.
Wow.
They just tend to fly through in the spring at Abberton.
Yeah.
They very rarely stop. So this is a real cracker.
We've had about 30 on the Thames over winter, which again is unusual to have that kind of number, and they've stuck.
Lovely.
Always at about 20, so I wonder whether might be one of those that's dropped in. We'll see.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and of course, Nightingales were showing very, very well in the sun yesterday morning. And I've had
Got a ring.
Sorry, yeah, I had.
That ring?
I can't read. Well, it says. I think it says Britain, and it looks like LO. So I don't know whether we'd be London or not. I don't know.
Yeah, probably was London on it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's difficult to read the ring on
Yeah.
it. So.
Funny enough, Matt, I had an email from Chaz Holt last night.
Okay.
Who does the ringing at Abberton?
Right.
And he said, "Oh, the bird's ringed," and I said, "Yeah, we did wonder whether it was one of his birds."
Okay.
And although he doesn't ring in that area we saw it, he said it's quite likely that it might have been one of his. So,
Okay. Okay. Could be then. And I've seen
Fantastic gallery, that, Matt.
Yeah,
Very
all 4
impressive.
ring this month, so I was pleased with that. Got snaps of them all as well, so yeah, not too bad.
Still missing 2.
Well, yeah, but all 4 common ones anyway.
yeah,
I
nice.
think
No, I'm
that's
missing
about it
2.
for
I'm
me.
missing House Martin.
you're
and
missing 2.
not seen Swift. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's about it for me. But in April, I had a quick look on my records. I've seen 116 species in April locally, plus black swan, and 22 of them new for the year. So it just shows that stuff is starting to come through.
That's not bad at all.
Very good. Very impressive. Yeah, you kind of had over 80 species, wasn't it, yesterday on your?
Yeah, 82 species I think we had
Very good.
yesterday. Yeah, I've seen nearly 150 species this month.
Wow.
Wow. I haven't looked. I'll have to have a look, and next time maybe
Yeah,
report in.
The stuff's out there, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the winds are not great at the moment. And as soon as those, I mean, there's obviously an increase in things like white throats at the moment. I mean, they're just like numbers everywhere. But the migrants are pushing through despite these northeasterly winds.
Yeah.
But as soon as it changes, I think there's going to be a mass. Everything's going to arrive.
Interesting that we've had some large birds coming over as well, with the white storks and the cranes, and
Absolutely.
big wing stuff has been less hindered by winds or even kind of moved by it. And we can't kind of let the sightings go without talking about the one that got away, can we?
Absolutely. If we've got time, yeah, I just want, yeah. So
Let's wrap up with this, eh?
Just share the screen. So obviously, a lot of people are aware of the white-tailed eagle reintroduction project down on the Isle of Wight, which was started. What was it? Not 2019, by Roy Dennis, and they released it like in the summer. I think there was like, can't remember the number of birds actually now, but 20 birds.
But a handful, isn't it?
Yeah. And,
Every year they.
this particular bird called Culver, you can see its route there. Back in September, it took or 19, took us right over out of sort of Hampshire and Dorset, Hampshire and Sussex, right over London, and then it flew pretty much down the Thames corridor.
Yeah. As I recall, I think it might be the only sighting was some kid in London queuing up to go into the Houses of Parliament or somewhere in central London, looked up and said, "Dad, what's that up there?" And it was really high. And they snapped a picture of it going over London. It might have been seen on the way out, but very, very few sightings. And certainly when it came to Essex, I don't think anybody saw it. And I think it roosted over at towards Wakeling Stairs.
Yeah.
Before going south and over into Kent.
Amazing bird. So this was the first year of the introduction project. So this one was on the move straight away. And then we fast forward a year. So this was during lockdown last year. So this is a female eagle, G324, and it obviously took off from the Isle of Wight, went up through sort of Middlesex and where's that, Hertfordshire into Norfolk, and then back round. And this one came right through Essex, down through Abberton, where it roosted overnight, down the sort of Colne estuary, and then out through Heybridge, around that sort of area, and right out over the Thames, back to the Isle of Wight.
And wasn't this seen by some Essex birders, Steve?
Yeah, so Richard Allen, he's got to be, I think he's seen more white-tailed eagles in Essex than anybody else. I think he's had like 2 or 3 over his garden. So Richard sketched this bird. And then, then this year, almost to the day, there was a male white-tailed eagle. And this one left sort of, where's that, sort of Alton Water around Ipswich. obviously headed north and then decided that Essex was the place to come.
Of
And then
course.
this was amazing. It came out down through Colchester. Like, it skirted the edge of Abberton, excuse me, the edge of Mersey, sort of Old Hall, right down the Dengie coast, right over Foulness, into Kent airspace, and stayed in Kent for a while. And this is the bird. I don't know if anyone's heard about it, but it's flown over to France and is now up in Germany.
Good grief.
But this particular bird flew through the whole of Essex, and no one saw it.
No one saw it.
No one saw this particular bird. So
Unbelievable.
it's interesting that it's worth. Let's go back to this one. So this one's the 7th and 8th of April last year, and then this one's the 5th of April this year. So
We'll be noting in our diaries.
yeah. So next spring, well worth keeping your eyes, peeled for white-tailed eagles. So hence the one that got away. This bird.
Yeah, and maybe even now. I was when I was out yesterday. Every time I heard the gulls on the Thames go off, I was aware there's actually been a white-tailed eagle the day before in Kent. One of these programs, because they do actually tell you kind of from time to time where they are, not on the day, but for previous days. And there's been one round Snodmarsh and stuff a couple of times this year, actually, two different birds. And I think there's still one up in Norfolk or North Suffolk or somewhere at the moment. So there's the details.
I just forgot to show this. So yeah, roydennis.org, really good website about all the releases he's involved with and how to report white-tailed eagles. So yeah, and also if you do see one in Essex, please send a record into the EBS website or Twitter, or so we can get the news out. That'd be really
get the news out as quick as we can, because it's possible, as Simon Wood, when he was on in February, was saying how was it January or February, they tracked a bird. What was that? Was that the cranes? Yeah. They tracked them between a few different birds as they kind of came through, and that's all part of being a community and getting the word out on Facebook or.
Yes, it's good you mentioned that, actually, because we bumped into Stephen Entwistle from Mersey yesterday at Abberton, and he kind of asked us to basically just try and encourage everybody, so people watching and anyone that's going out birding in Essex, to please share your sightings on the EBS website, because it not only does it populate the website itself, but it also sends out an email immediately to people that have subscribed to the IO group. So you'll get a notification in your emails of what's been sighted. So if you're out and about, if you can have a smartphone with you, log into the EBS website. Even if you just put the something like a white-tailed eagle, put it on there on its own, ping it out, it takes a few seconds, and then everyone else will know. And it's really good to share that information so we can all benefit from these beautiful birds.
Well said. Excellent.
Well said, Matt. Yeah, brilliant. Good. So what are you hoping for in the next week or so?
Warmer weather, please.
The winter drop.
I don't think the long range forecast is northeasterlies and easterlies for the next 10 days or so. So we'll have to wait a bit longer.
And very little rain. I same kind of yesterday had my first. In fact, it was on the Tuesday when I was on the Breeding Bird Survey. Heard the first fledgling great tit calling, and so and then Elaine's been watching some goslings, grey-lag goslings on the Heronry Shore, Thameside Nature Park lake there. So, but some of the birds are struggling. We've had the robin round kind of picking up mealworms because it's so dry, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hope for a bit of rain, maybe.
Got a couple more comments on YouTube. So Sam Murphy said that blackbirds have fledged in his garden this week. That's nice. And he also he liked the Wimble picture, so yeah, thanks, Sam. And he said he's the sedge warbler going the same way as grasshopper warbler. In other words, they're just seeming to get scarcer and scarcer every year.
Certainly in our area, less sedge warblers, but grasshopper warbler, which has been heard this week down at East Tilbury with 3 in there, is certainly kind of on the up last year, and Nightingale too. And I'm not sure whether they're spreading across as they've been pushed out of areas, but we've had 2 new Nightingale singing territories last year that already birds are in, and 1 other new territory that I've established the other day. So yeah, but sedge warbler definitely, and willow warbler. I heard a willow warbler, probably the only one out here. They're definitely, you know, declined in our area. Had one singing all the way through spring last year. I'm not sure whether it managed to find a mate.
No, I've not had one yet, unfortunately. Jonathan Norgate has predicted the future, and he said there's going to be a black tern tomorrow at Abberton. So I'm working, but I may come down with something overnight and turn up at Abberton instead.
Yeah, I mean Abberton had Arctic terns today, little tern, which is another good Abberton bird were there today.
Yeah, very good.
So yeah, black tern I think's a fair bet.
It's a good shout.
Yeah,
definitely. Definitely.
Be looking for terns on the river, and little gull as well. Kind of missing a little gull. I'd like to see one of those on the new scrape down at East Tilbury.
Yeah, there was seven or so I think at Abberton today. Little gulls. Yeah, just went through.
Quickly, share you the next evening talk.
Where
I failed earlier with my buried treasure map. So yeah, next evening talk on Friday the 7th of May. So what's that? 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
And is that parrot saying pieces of 8 then regarding your treasure maps?
Yeah, this is a hyacinth macaw. That is. So yeah, what a bird that is.
What a stunner.
Yeah, I don't know, Rob, but I'd imagine the Pantanal is just like amazing place.
Yeah.
So please come and join us for this talk, which will be on Zoom and YouTube as well.
Just had a comment from Les. Talking of birds being scarcer, he's not seen a corn bunting at Abberton yet this year. Well, we didn't have one yesterday, did we?
No. I mean, normally by now you'd hear birds singing, but there was nothing yesterday, which is slightly worrying. There's normally a reasonable size flock in the winter, which I think there was this year, but yeah, very odd.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Yep.
Yeah, probably worth saying turtle dove as well. Keep your eyes open. Graham Eakins, I think, had one in this week into his garden in Boreham. Lucky Graham.
Obviously, yeah, get involved with the turtle dove survey if you can. That'd be really good.
Yeah, definitely.
So when are we back then, guys?
We're back on the 21st, I think, aren't we? 21st of May.
21st of May. Yep. Do it all again. And don't forget to send your photographs in. So yeah, just to remind you, send pictures in if you wish to.
Just one. From this month.
Just one. From this month.
From the month ahead.
Yeah. We'll choose the best 4. I think when we say our goodbyes, I'm going to play out with Mo Jackson has sent in a little audio clip of Nightingale singing. So I think
lovely.
When we're ready, I'll tee that up, guys, and that'll be a good way to close the show.
Excellent. Well, thanks to everyone for watching.
Yeah, thanks, and pleased everybody can get out a little bit more now, and and also enjoy some sunshine, if not some warmth. Yeah. And so do so. Be safe, and hope to see you out in the field at some point. Yeah, thanks for watching.
Thanks everyone, and here's Mo's Nightingale. Hopefully.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Beautiful.
Brilliant.
Thanks, Mo.
Thanks,
See you later, everyone.
Mo.
Brilliant.
All the best.
Bye.
Stay safe.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye-bye.